I am never satisfied. I am absolutely never satisfied. There's something built in internally within me, that wiring, where I look at everything critically. Everything in life is looked at with a critical eye. Not because I want to be judgmental. I want everything to be perfect all the time. And it's such a hard bar to live with, myself and those around me. But it pays dividends in the end when you're always looking at things critically. And people understand that you're doing it with the best of intentions, then everybody learns to keep the bar as high as possible. We all should live to the highest bar or measure possible. And that's just our ethos around here.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Welcome back to another episode of the Southern Executive Experience. I'm your host, Jamie Johnson. And today I'm here with Buck Holly, the founder and CEO of C&H Precision Weapons here in Richmond Hill, Georgia. Buck, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, and welcome to the brand new headquarters of C&H Precision. C&H Precision Weapons no longer exists technically.
Okay.
It's a long story, but if you're in business and you have a business that has firearms, weapons, explosives, or something in your name,
right,
or you are in the manufacturing of said such items, companies, specifically banks, insurance companies, you name it, they love to beat you with a stick, and you pay higher fees, you pay higher everything if you're in an industry that they think is risky.
Yeah.
And several years ago, again, just a business lesson, if I'd known what I know now, I would have called it XYZ Machine Shop.
Yep. Right. Yeah.
And, nobody would really know what we do. And then we wouldn't have paid double in credit card fees and liability insurance and workers' comp and all that other jazz for years. So
all that stuff's tough enough without them adding extra penalty points for certain industries.
Yeah.
So it's just C&H Precision.
C&H Precision. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, can you tell us a little bit about what y'all do here? I know at your, like you said, your brand new facility.
So we started in business in 2012 as C&H Precision Weapons LLC. We started out as a precision rifle manufacturer.
Okay.
So we made bolt guns one by one.
Okay.
They were custom ordered, and we made replica copies of U.S. Marine Corps sniper rifles, which a lot of collectors want.
Right.
Then we made hunting rifles, and we made competition rifles. And
how long ago was this? I'm sorry.
That was in 2012 we started.
Yes, sir.
C&H stands for Clark and Holly. And the Clark part of the name was bought out by me in 2015 or 2016. He remained as an employee for several more months, and then just decided that the full-time work, full-time small business wasn't cut out for him, and he eased off into the sunset and really went full retirement as far as I know. We don't talk much or any anymore, but
right.
And then several years later, the phone rang one day, and a good friend of mine that worked at Glock in Smyrna, Georgia, up in Atlanta, said, "Do you guys think that you could make us 25 of these little aluminum parts? We have a special project that we're working on."
Right.
That was in 2014 in October. And in 2015, I think we sold 25 of these parts because Glock released the MOS pistol. Mm-hmm. They were using some of our plates to mount their optics to these pistols because it was a new product and they didn't have enough internal samples of this optic mounting plate.
Right.
So they used some of ours to show it at a trade show and to demo it. And we were in the right place at the right time. I think we made and sold 25 to 50 of these things in year one, which was in 2015. Mm-hmm. Fast forward today, we've moved once from Florida to Georgia. We built a new factory. Today we make somewhere between 4,000 and 6,000 of these optic adapter plates a week.
Oh, wow. Wow.
From the first year, we probably made and sold 50, and now we make 5,000 or 6,000 a week.
Wow, that's amazing. And can you tell me a little bit more about the component itself, and what kind of, I was learning the other day, what makes y'all unique from anybody else in y'all's market?
So ours is different than everybody else's in the market because we were the first to make them, and we put a lot of emphasis on perfecting this mounting plate. So now we're on what's called V4, which stands for version 4.
Right.
We actually have a version 5 that we make that's specifically for federal law enforcement agencies and some very specific use cases.
Yes, sir.
The main selling one is called a version 4, and it is patented because when you take a pistol and you make a cutout on top of it where a optic will mount, if an optic does not mount directly to the slide, it needs an adapter plate, and that's where we come in. We're the glue that holds the optic to the pistol.
Gotcha.
And ours is special in that it is thinner than your OEM plate,
okay,
but it doubles the amount of thread engagement that your screws need to hold the optic to the plate. And the way that we do that is we make a plate that's 1/10 of an inch thick, so 100 thousandths thick, or ours are probably 95 thousandths thick.
Right.
And then we have a removable fastener that is inserted from the bottom of the plate, and it's shaped like a T so it can't turn. It has a threaded post that goes up through a hole in the plate, and that threaded post is taller or thicker than the plate. So that's how you get the double thread engagement, or twice as much thread engagement.
Gotcha.
And we've got a patent that lasts for another, 14 or 15 years. So we are in great shape for the foreseeable future for 15 more years.
Absolutely.
Making these. But that's also opened up many different opportunities to, once you get really, really singularly focused at mounting optics on pistols, then you start to wonder what else can we do. And there's a natural progression, kind of a evolution of businesses that we do this really well. What doors does that open up?
What are some of those doors that you've seen open up with this same industry?
Well, because we're so familiar with mounting optics on pistols,
Yes, sir.
we, by default, get to know what everybody likes about certain optics and the few things that everybody dislikes about certain optics.
Gotcha.
So we'll take what is probably the most common optic in the world, which is the RMR footprint, and it's made by Trijicon, the HoloSun 507C, our comp, and the Trijicon SRO. So those all fit that form factor of what we call an RMR footprint. And there are things that people don't like about each one of them. For example, the Trijicon is absolutely the most tried and true bulletproof tested optic in the world.
Right.
There's nothing that can outperforms it as far as durability or ruggedness. However, the one thing that people hate about it is that you have to physically take the entire optic off of your gun to change the battery.
Right. Yeah.
Doesn't sound like a big deal,
Yeah.
but for mounting optics to guns can be very challenging. And if you don't install it correctly and it comes loose, it's going to come off and hit you in the face.
Right. Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah.
The other negative to it, the reason that law enforcement agencies aren't particularly fond of the RMR, not because of the durability, they love it because of the durability. What they don't like is that when you take it off once a year to change the battery and you reinstall it properly, you still should and need to go back to the range to zero it, to confirm your zero,
right,
to make sure that it hasn't moved at all since you took it off and replaced it. You fast forward, most or all current optic manufacturers now have some type of top load battery or a side load battery. So you don't ever have to take it off. You don't have to reconfirm your zero when you do it. You just change the battery.
Right.
So that is, in that instance, that's one thing that we learned. Mm-hmm. If we're going to make our own optic, do not put the battery underneath because people don't like that.
That's right.
There's several other features that people like: window size and shape. Some people are cost sensitive. Some people are sensitive to, whether it has a red emitter or a green emitter. So these are all different things that we can change based on what the consumer market really likes. And when we set out to design our optics, we worked really hard to address each and every one of those things that the other companies did that consumers didn't like.
Gotcha.
And that's how we differentiate ourselves, is that when you buy our optic, we think that we fixed most or all of these things that normal people would not have wanted on their optic.
Taking what other people are doing and just improved on it, and made sure, and learn from their mistakes, pretty much, basically.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say they're mistakes. They're just some people, some companies don't evolve or scale really well. They make a really good product. Mm-hmm. Trijicon invented the RMR, I don't know, 20 years ago.
Right.
The RMR, for the most part, is the same exact design and shape. Now, they've made a couple little changes to the internal battery compartment, the way that the contacts touch the battery. They've had to make a couple fixes there to make sure that the battery never loses connectivity, and you would get this blinking when you'd shoot. Your red dot would just flash really intermittently. So they fixed that.
Gotcha.
But fundamentally, the size and the shape has not evolved because they're the dominant player. And you know what happens when dominant players hit a home run? They tend to stay with that and not evolve or not change much.
Yeah. If it ain't broke, don't fix it type thing.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say that they did anything wrong. They've just, we're a small company. We're very agile, and it is no big deal for us to make 1,000 or 10,000 units of something, go through them, and then say, if we change this one little feature, more people would appreciate it. So then we're always rolling in new changes for different designs to keep up with market trends.
Absolutely. Well, let's jump back a little bit to when you started. What were some of the most difficult things getting? I know you said you feel like you were kind of got lucky in the right place, right time a little bit, but what are some of the challenges when you were starting out?
I think what everybody is challenged with is hiring the right people.
Yeah, for sure.
When you're really small, oftentimes your standards are pretty low.
Yep.
And you need a body to fill a seat, and sometimes just asking somebody, can you fog a mirror and do you have a pulse? Okay, good. Then you can answer a phone and you can do a duty that we assign to you, and it's going to be pretty hard for you to screw it up.
Yeah.
I learned the hard way that in every instance, filling a seat with a butt because they could fog a mirror and have a pulse, turns out that it creates more work for you than it alleviates.
Well, I guess the top 30% of the top 90% of the work is done by 30% of the people, I think, at your office.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. I heard it's the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
80% of your work is done by the top 20% of your employees. But, so we've gotten really, really good at identifying deficiencies within our business.
Yeah.
Who has the pedigree that we need to hire, and then when we say, this is the job that we have open, this is the need that we need to fill, here are the qualifications. Typically now what we do is we say, take those qualifications and basically double them.
Gotcha.
So we're not, at one time we used to hire, we just need a body.
Yeah.
Then we got to a point where we moved up the food chain a little bit, and we said, okay, now we're going to hire the best person we can afford to fill this job. Mm-hmm. Fast forward again, now we don't even do that. Now we have a job that's open, we have requirements that we have to fill. Now we hire somebody based on, can you do that job today? And when the job grows, can the job grow into your qualifications? Basically, we want somebody who's overqualified, that isn't just suited to do the job that we need today.
Right. We
are hiring you based on where we think we're going to be 12, 18, 36 months from now.
Your potential and yeah.
Yeah. So, and we do that on two fronts. We do that on hiring people and buying equipment.
Right.
We no longer buy the piece of equipment that we need today to fill the job. We buy the piece of equipment that can do what we need it to be done today, but will be a machine that we can fill up in 12 or 36 months. So we're always buying bigger than we need, because we've never not grown from year to year. Some years we've grown over 500%. There were 3 years in a row where we grew in 3 years from 2020 to 2023, we grew 1,600%, more than 1,600. So it was more than 500% year over year over year.
Yes. When you're growing like that, you got to plan for the future. And what you just said, I think a lot of times people maybe just buy for what they're getting, and then, like you said, you get 6 months down the road, that stuff's obsolete, and you need totally new equipment or need totally new technology.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I've never bought a piece of equipment that was obsolete in 6 months or 12 months, but I have bought lots of equipment that we need to make 100 of these pieces of equipment every day.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then buy a machine that makes 100 a day. Well, to your point, in 6 or 9 months, our production need has grown from 100 a day to 150 or 200 a day.
Right.
Well, that means now I have to buy the same machine again. Mm-hmm. So if a machine costs $300,000, now 6 months later, I got to spend another $300,000 to buy the same machine to build another 100 a day.
Right.
However, if you back up and you say, instead of spending $300,000 to make 100 parts a day, what if I spend 450? So it's not double. It's never double to double your capacity. The machine's just slightly bigger. It's about 25% bigger in cost and size. So if I spend 400 or 450, now suddenly that machine works for everything I need it to do today, and it's going to be good in 6 months and 9 months. Yes, in 36 months it'll be too small, but we've gotten our money's worth out of it by then.
That's awesome. That's smart. Well, what is your biggest challenge facing your business today?
Probably me. Probably no, it's not. It's not probably. It is me, and it's not me that's in the way.
Yeah,
it's this business would be 100% on autopilot, no hiccups, no issues, no drama, no nothing if it weren't for me, because I am the entrepreneur. I am not a business leader per se.
Okay.
I lead 7 or 8 businesses.
Right.
I'm not the guy who just comes to work to keep them going. I'm the guy who comes, and when everything is running smoothly, we have no problems. We have enough material. We have enough people. We have enough customers. Everything is on autopilot. I come in and pour gas on the fire.
Yeah, yeah.
And I expect more.
Yeah.
Or maybe I don't expect more out of our current business units. I do like to push them, but I'll add something to the mix. Maybe I buy another company. And what I've learned is the efficiency of scaling a business or a group of businesses. I have been fortunate enough to learn that if I have my business and it's working as perfectly as it can be, there are pieces within my business unit that can always take on slightly more something. And the accounting department doesn't ever work at 100%. They're not 100% manned ever, nor are do they have 100% workload.
Right.
Production's the same way. Quality's the same way. They all have a little fluff built in them. Now, when I take another small business that I've bought multiple other small businesses, when I go in and I do an evaluation of that business, everyone, the common threads in all of them are their overhead is typically killing them.
True.
It's their rent, it's their labor costs, it's cost of goods sold. They don't have the buying power. So if I come in there and partner with them or eventually buy them, what I have the ability to do is say, listen, your core competency is making this cleaner or this fluid and marketing that. You're really good at that.
Yeah.
But where I can see you guys are having problem is your rent. You have this big facility that costs you X number of dollars of rent. Yeah. You have HR people, you have accounting people, you have managers, you have quality, you have all that thing, all of those facets which you need. But if I buy that business and I integrate them into my business,
right,
I can often reduce their overhead significantly because now they no longer need rent because they're in my building.
Right.
They no longer need a full-time quality person because our quality department can absorb them. And I like to take those people that were underutilized in that company, fold them into the bigger umbrella. Now that quality person, I can bring them over from that company and I can plunk them down in this company, and now they have access to do quality for 7 different brands.
Right.
And I can absorb them and make it cost efficient. So we've done that 3 or 4 times, and instantly every single one of those business units becomes more profitable on day one just by reducing the amount of overhead on them.
That's amazing. It just sounds, you got that entrepreneurial spirit. I mean, that's just kind of like you saying. And the first thing that pops in my mind, because I saw a movie this weekend with him, kind of a Steve Jobs type of thing. You know, you sound like you're always never satisfied, always pushing to do bigger and better.
I am never satisfied. I am absolutely never satisfied, and it, much to the chagrin of my employees, my family, everybody else. I do have very close family members that like, can we just be okay with being okay?
Yeah.
And I'm like, we can, but there's something built in internally within me, that wiring, where I look at everything critically. Everything in life is looked at with a critical eye. Not because I want to be judgmental, but I can always spot efficiencies. And I can look at something. It's the speed in our cafe. I've never owned a cafe in my life. I've never owned a restaurant, nothing. Catering business, nothing.
Yeah.
Now I own a cafe. We serve breakfast and lunch and craft coffee. And I can go into that restaurant. Every time I see somebody walk up and walk out the front door because they're done, that's a cue to me that I look over there to where they were seated, and I say to myself, my front of house staff should watch them walk out and instantly know there's a table to clean.
Yeah.
I don't want those dirty dishes to sit over there for more than 30 seconds or a minute because the insects, bugs, people look at it. It looks kind of trashy. The moment they get up and walk out, we need to address that. Get over there, clean it up, bust the table, wipe it off, wipe the chairs off, sweep the floor, so that it looks like nobody was there.
Right.
And again, me being critical, we have some people in the cafe who think that customer service experience isn't as important as I think it should be to them.
Right.
I want everything to be perfect all the time. And it's such a hard bar to live with myself and those around me. But it pays dividends in the end when you're always looking at things critically and people understand that you're doing it with the best of intentions. Then everybody learns to keep the bar as high as possible. We all should live to the highest bar or measure possible. And that's just our ethos around here.
That's awesome. Well, speaking of an entrepreneurial spirit, what would be your top advice for a young entrepreneur starting out?
This is one that I didn't learn until I was 52 or 53. And I would tell you, if you are truly an entrepreneur and you are entrusted with making decisions, impactful decisions every single day, if I could go back and coach my younger self, I would tell myself to get off and eliminate alcohol from my daily diet, period.
Yeah.
And like I said, it took me a long time because alcohol and liquor is just baked in. It's in every commercial. It's in every movie. It's in every function that we go to. I used to critique, am I going to go to this function whether they had an open bar or not?
True, yeah.
And I'd go or not. We go to local restaurants, establishments. Fishtails is a hot spot here in our town, and everybody loves to go to Fishtails on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And we sit around and watch TV and ball games, and we have a couple cocktails, a couple beers, and it's just baked into the goodness.
Right.
And what I tell people is, if you are an employee and you just have to show up, you're working across the street at the equipment rental store, and your job is check out a Bobcat, fill out some paperwork, answer the phone, answer some emails, send a quote. And there's no life-changing, huge, impactful decisions. You can afford to come to work with just the smallest, slightest bit of a hangover, or you're not super motivated. Now, me as an employer, I wish everybody showed up, gangbusters and working 100% and clear mind and focused. But it doesn't. it's impossible to ask for that.
Yeah.
But you as the business owner, the person who makes those impactful decisions, you have to be switched on 100% at all times.
True.
You don't have the option to come to work and be dragging ass just a little bit. You're like, and I did for a long time.
Yeah.
I'd come to work and there were days that I would cancel meetings just because I just didn't feel 100%, and I didn't want to have to make a big decision that required a lot of thought process and a lot of analysis. There's some days that you're just not cut out for that, or if you're forced to make a decision on one of those days where maybe you had 6 or 7 beers last night, you were watching the national championship, and you come to work dragging a little bit, and now you got to make this presentation or a big impactful decision. And how many of those decisions were made incorrectly or not with the analysis that it required, and you made just a subtle error in your calculations because you weren't turned on all 100%.
Yeah.
So that's what I've learned, and it doesn't change anything about me to not have a beer or two flowing through my blood veins at 5 or 6 o'clock on a weekday or a weeknight.
Right.
If anything, it has made my quality of life better because I am not immune from saying dumb things. And you put 2 or 3 or 4 cocktails or a couple IPAs in me, and if you really want the God's honest truth, give me 4 or 5 Jack and Cokes, and I'll tell you how the world works.
That's right.
But I guarantee you, after 5 Jack and Cokes, and I tell you how the world works, I'm going to offend you some way, some shape. And I don't mean it. I'm trying to give you an honest conversation about how I feel. Yeah. Something that's going to come out of my mouth is going to be hurtful or harmful, and I didn't really mean it.
Right. Now,
for the last, since November of 2024, I've not had any alcohol. And the number of times that I've had to apologize to somebody that I like or love has gone down dramatically to almost 0.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm always clear-headed.
Right.
And I always have, you notice when you have a couple cocktails, your mouth just starts moving before you put any thought into it?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I don't have that problem if I'm not drinking.
Yeah.
I have to think about what I'm going to say.
It keeps you sharp. And
it does.
When you're making all decisions and everything starts, I could understand why that would be a major plus to stay sharp-minded.
Yeah. So, you're not going to learn that in business school. In fact, You're going to learn something completely opposite in business school. Let's study and let's go have a couple cocktails.
Yep.
So it's counterintuitive. There are hundreds of other lessons that I've learned in the entrepreneurial landscape. What we just talked about, hiring the right people, buying the right machinery. Mm-hmm. There's just so many lessons that in so many stories. I mean, I remember the one time, if you're a small business and you want to get in trouble quick, go for a year or 2 or 3 not having some type of biometric time card.
Yeah.
And I did it. And I'm not going to say I got in trouble, but it bit me in the hiney several years later because I remember walking around with a 3x3 note card. I'd go up to your desk. I'm like, hey, how many hours you got this week? Mm-hmm. I've got 35 and a half. I'd write it down.
Yeah.
And I go to the next person, and that one would be 34. Some would be 41. And you write these on a notepad. And then you go sit at your computer and you enter them in the time system into QuickBooks or whatever you're paying people with. And then that's it. And then you take that note and you throw it away.
Yeah.
We didn't keep any of them. Now, fast forward a year or 2 or 3, and if you have an employee who has a discrepancy with some hours that you pay. Now, I log them into QuickBooks down to the 10th of the hour.
Yeah.
Okay? But if that employee raises a question with any of these regulatory bodies, whether it's the state government, the federal government, or some organization, if they raise that as an issue, it is not incumbent on them to prove that they did work exactly those hours or a half an hour of overtime or more or less. Yeah. It's on you, the business owner, to prove that they did or didn't work them.
Right.
And if you wrote that stuff on a little sticky note and then entered it in the computer, that doesn't carry as much weight as a biometric time clock. Mm-hmm. So There was a time when we used to write these things down, and now, because of those issues that we encountered, now we have multiple time clocks around here where everybody can clock in and clock out. But this biometric, you touch it with your fingerprint, it takes a picture of you, with date stamps it. There is no question what time you clocked in or clocked out.
Right.
So, and then all of those records are kept. All that information is flowed into your payroll system. So now we have multiple checks and balances that nobody can come to us and say, I worked an hour of overtime that I didn't get paid for. Well, we'll go back into the system and say, well, you clocked out at 4:59 on this day, and then you left. We have footage of you leaving. Did you work? Did you happen to? And at that point, if they then claim that they weren't clocked in, then they violated the personnel policy that says you're not supposed to come here and not clock in. So that's a violation.
Right. You got a record of it.
So if I had, one, quit drinking or cut back a lot, B, timekeeping, that relationship between the employer and the employee is very critical. There's a lot of things that you can do to make their life better. But to protect yourself and your business, you have to keep these critical records that if you don't, it's going to come back and bite you in the rear end, and it's not going to be pleasant.
What is the biggest issue that keeps you up at night with your business?
I don't have those concerns or worries anymore because I've hired such great people to take care of the stuff that used to keep me up at night. But the things that used to keep me up at night would be product reviews or feedback from customers, Google reviews, and people that seemingly want to burn down a business. It's the customer relationship with us. And if we screw up as a business, if you want to see me laser focused and you want to see me at my best, then allow a product that didn't pass all of the QC standards leave, and then a consumer have problems with it. That keeps me up at night.
Right.
Because we didn't do our dead level best to ensure that we don't ship a product that doesn't meet our standards.
Yes, sir.
Now, if more consumers had entrepreneurial experience or business leadership or business owner experience, they would not be so quick to pull the trigger of the flamethrower on Instagram, on Facebook, on your webpage product reviews.
Yeah.
They would understand that sometimes things slip through the cracks, and they shouldn't. And that's why I'm here, and that's why we have the quality people and the standards that we have. But sometimes things do happen.
Yeah.
And me as a business owner, you and I both have a business relationship.
Right.
I buy a product from you.
That's right.
And if your product doesn't meet my standards, nobody's going to know unless you fail to fix my problems in a timely and a satisfactory method.
Right, absolutely.
And I also take into account the challenges that you might face. So I have a device that's in somebody's office that you are responsible for. We lease it from you. And it breaks. Hey, I need you to come check this out. Okay, we'll be over there. We're busy today. We'll be over there tomorrow morning. Is that satisfactory? Yes, that's satisfactory. Now, if you didn't show up for 3 more days, then we got a problem.
Absolutely, yeah.
If you do show up tomorrow like you told me, on time, or maybe even a little late, traffic, things happen.
Yeah.
And then you come in and we can't fix it today because we need a part. Okay, great. Well, the part comes, and 2 days later, we're back in action. Now, in the firearms industry, if that exact scenario had happened, there is a large population who would then take that after everything was satisfied. They understand that there are parts on firearms that are wear parts. They wear out.
Right.
Or there's tolerance stack-ups, and sometimes things don't fit. when you make a perfect part, sometimes perfect parts don't mount on mass-produced items, and they're just not going to fit. You got to massage them a little bit. Now, after we get all that done and everybody's seemingly happy, there are still people who think it's their obligation to get on some platform and pull the trigger of the flamethrower, like, this is what happened, and this is what went, and yes, ultimately they fixed it, but I'm not happy.
And it still give you a 2-star review and that kind of thing. Yep.
So this is where I get to my point. If more people were entrepreneurial, ran a business, and understand the challenges that we go through as business owners every day, trying to keep everybody happy, it's impossible to keep everybody happy.
True.
But we try our dead level best to do it. Sometimes it's impossible. I'll give you a great example. So we ship things 3 different ways. We use USPS, United States Postal Service.
Right.
We use UPS, we use FedEx, and we use DHL for international stuff.
Yep.
So when people come to our website and they're paying $60 to $80 for a part, you give them 3 different choices. There's USPS, which was commonly the cheapest.
Yeah.
It was $6 or $7 or $8. UPS is $10 to $12. FedEx is $10 to $12 to $15. By default, everybody almost always picks the lowest price one. But here's the problem. USPS is actually the most unreliable form of shipping.
Yep.
And I'm not going to say that they're bad, but when I say unreliable, when they pick something up and they scan it, it doesn't get scanned at every step of the way. So it might get scanned at the post office in Richmond Hill, and then nobody hears or sees of it. Your tracking number literally doesn't work for 2 or 3 more days because it went to Jacksonville, and then it goes through their processing center, and then it gets on a truck and goes somewhere else. But what if it misses the scan in Jacksonville, which is a common occurrence?
Yeah.
It made it there and it left, but nobody scanned it.
Right.
Well, now the customer is pissed. They're like, my package is lost and it's not going to get here in time, and you guaranteed that it would be here in 3 days. Well, yes, it is being sent to you in Atlanta, but it went to Jacksonville first. It will probably be there in time. It just missed one of the scans. So what we had to do is we had to think, how do we fix this problem? The fix is we just ship everything with USPS or FedEx.
Yep. Yeah.
But people then get mad because they don't think that they have the number of choices that they deserve.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, let's try something different. Let's offer USPS. Now you have to offer USPS because some people use a PO box. Some people have a rural delivery where UPS and FedEx won't deliver. So you do have to offer USPS. But how about this? Why don't we make USPS not the cheapest one? So if you base rates on size of the package, weight of the package, and the distance that it's going. And then in the back end, you can add a surcharge. Well, we don't add one for UPS or FedEx or DHL, but we went in there and we added a $5 surcharge for USPS, which makes it $1 or $2 more than UPS or FedEx.
Right. So now people are going with your better service, the FedEx.
So guess what happens?
Yeah.
Now almost everybody picks UPS.
Right.
Which has the best and most, it has the best tracking, it has the best service rating. Now everybody by default is picking what they think is the cheapest one. It is our best performing one, and our customer service interactions significantly go down because it's tracked, it's scanned. You can see that thing's on a truck moving somewhere.
And as soon as it's delivered, you know too.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so it's a trick.
Yeah.
People want options, and this is what I'd tell your audience. When you think that there's only one option or one good option, human beings love options. It's no different than the menu. If you go to my Café, there are some things on the menu that are outrageously priced, and nobody buys them. Why? Because that outrageously priced thing that's $18 on your menu when everything else on our menu is $8 to $12. Well, the $18 thing makes everything else look more affordable.
That's right. Yep.
So,
That's right.
So I gave you options. You might not like all the options, but that's, it's kind of like raising kids. Every one of my kids gets choices. They get at least 2 choices, sometimes 3. And there's always one that I want them to take, and I make that one the most appealing by giving them options that they don't really like. And when you give them an option that you want them to take and it's ultimately the best one, and you give them 2 other bad options, then the person making the decision thinks that they made a great decision because they picked the best option, and secretly that's the one that I wanted them to pick because it works out best for all of us.
It sounds like a little variation of what my wife does, ABA therapy for autistic children. Like it's all about choices and rewards and things like that. But you kind of give them choices and let them choose between and let them make their own decision.
Yeah.
But you do kind of skew those choices into what you want them to do.
Absolutely.
So that does sound like a little ABA.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, tell me a little bit about your facility here. This is an amazing building. We pulled up to it the other day, and I was when I ran into you, it was just I didn't get to see much of it. But the next day, I got a whole tour. But anyway, tell us a little about your building.
So as we've grown and grown, we went from one building that we occupied a quarter of it. We eventually filled it up. Then we bought the building across the street. We occupied a quarter of it, and then we filled it up, and then we ended up into a third building that we occupied a quarter of it, and then we almost filled that one up.
Right.
So it was really easy for me back then to get my 10,000 steps every day because I was walking 100 yards to get to that building, 100 yards to get to that one, 100 yards to get back to this one, and then I was just on this constant ring, and we felt disconnected. We had people in all 3 buildings. Sometimes you wouldn't see somebody for a week. You didn't even know that they were at work. A business really has a difficult time operating like that. If you really need to work collaboratively together, you need to see everybody. And I knew that a new building was in our future for several different reasons. We were growing so rapidly when we were having a lot of success, and there's always these lingering conversations that other bigger businesses are interested in acquiring us for some reason.
Yeah.
If they would have come to visit us at our old location, I love hearing this story. There was a compressor business here in Georgia, and a German company was interested in buying them. They had seen all the financials. They knew the name. They knew the legacy. They knew everything about this little compressor company. And these German people in a Mercedes van with 4 or 5 or 6 executives pulled up to this old, crappy-looking steel building on a dirt road, kind of in some obscure part of town.
Yeah.
And these German dudes drove up, and everybody was there. They're all cleaned up. The business owner's in a suit. He's waiting to welcome these people. The van drives up, parks in the parking lot. The engine never even shuts off, and 30 seconds or a minute later, they leave.
Yeah.
And everybody was just distraught. And they're like, what just happened? They showed up for the meeting. They never even got out of the van. Well, turns out that these German guys, these German executives showed up, and they're like, we know what the P&L looks like. We know what the history looks like, but the exterior, the facade of this business does not match. We're not interested. And just like that, they left.
Right.
So that story always stuck with me. If I was ever going to sell C&H, or I want our exterior to match our interior, I knew that we were going to have to put up something magical and something. I wanted a building that replicates what we aspire to be and what we really are.
Yeah.
I also, Richmond Hill is my home now. I'm very proud to live here. I'm very proud to support everything about this town, this county, this region.
Yeah.
And the city is in this time and place where it's transformative. It's starting to grow. It's starting to grow very rapidly.
Absolutely.
And I knew if I was going to build a building, I wanted this building to match where the town's going. I want it to lead. I want to lead from out front.
Yeah.
And this building is a lot of me projecting what I think other business owners and entrepreneurs should aspire to be and to look like. When you drive up and you see the front of the building, you see the flagpole, you see the colors, you see the presentation. Nobody in this town has ever done as much landscaping around a building as I think we have. Maybe there's a few, but not many.
It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous around here.
So the landscaping, the facade on the front, the metal architectural panels, the flagpole, everything about it screams first class. You know, Hyundai did the same thing. Hyundai has spent millions of dollars on landscaping. You know, they actually did as much or more than I did, or significantly more. But when you drive by that building, you know it's a big corporation. You know it's a multi-billion corporation.
That's right.
Due to the sheer size and the capacity and the landscape and everything. Well, when you drive down I-95 and you look at all the buildings right here in the first exit 90, there's one that stands out.
Yep.
And that's mine.
Absolutely.
And that's on purpose.
Well, you did it. You did a good job. Y'all got the shooting range, state-of-the-art new shooting range. You've got the gun room as far as your showroom.
Yep.
And then you've got the new the cafe, and you even have an area for people to come in and have meetings and things like that.
So when we were building this building, I knew that a majority of it was going to be manufacturing.
Yeah.
And at that time, I knew another one of the lessons is there's got to be ways to retain great talent. Now, pay is one. That's a huge motivator.
Sure.
You can keep a lot of talent by paying them really well. So we do. We're one of the best companies for paying their employees what they're worth.
Awesome.
We issue bonuses at the end of every year. There are very few, if not any, companies in this region that have an annual bonus program. And I'm very proud to be part of that culture where we reward people for their hard work. And the bonuses go up and down every year based on your performance and our business performance. So if we collectively do great and you as an individual do great, then you're going to max out your bonus.
Right.
Awesome. If we don't do good, if I don't do good and you don't do good and we don't have a whole lot of cash floating around, then maybe the bonuses are a little bit lower.
Right.
And as we started to put the plan together, I knew that there had to be a way to retain good talent. And what you boil down to is there's commonality in every business. Daycare is a huge one. If you can offer childcare or daycare or a program to help fund it, that goes a long way with your employees. But at that time, even today, we don't have a lot of employees that have youngsters that require daycare or childcare.
Gotcha.
But the other common denominator that every single employee has in common is they need to eat. And at one time I knew that there's a couple stories. I've seen employees that make $15 an hour, order DoorDash and pay $18 to $20 for a meal that's just, bad fried food from a fast food restaurant.
Yeah.
That's not that should not be $18 coming out of your wallet, because that kid that works $15 an hour had to work an hour and a half to afford a $20 meal.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
They think because they make $15 an hour that it's just extra $3. But you make $15 an hour, your paycheck doesn't reflect $15 an hour because you have federal tax, state tax, FICA, you name it.
Yeah.
So they're actually making $12 an hour. So now that's how you get to your hour and a half. And when you help these kids understand this, they're like, oh, maybe I should curb my spending a little bit.
That's right.
Well, how else can I help them? I think that every employee that works under my charge should be able to go to the cafe for breakfast or for lunch. Mm-hmm. They should be able to walk in there and walk out of there with a to-go meal that's A, good, mm-hmm. and B, affordable. And when I say affordable, I went and bought breakfast this morning for me and one other employee so we could have a little meeting. I paid for it, and we each had a breakfast sandwich. We each had a coffee, and I believe it was, with tip, it was $16.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was $6.50 or $7 each for our meal, mm-hmm. and a little $2, $3 tip. Well, would you be willing to spend $7 or $8 on breakfast?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you do DoorDash, that's a $25 meal,
right.
With fees and everything.
So I can create this environment of loyalty just by putting in a cafe. Now, yeah. I put the cafe in. Originally it was going to be really small. It was only going to be breakfast and lunch for just employees.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, and we were standing across the street looking at the front of where this building was going to go, and it was 9:50 in the morning on a Tuesday, I believe, and just that moment, the doors of the YMCA opened up, and here comes 5 local ladies in their Lululemon pants, their Stanley Cup, they're sweaty, they just got done working out, exercising. And I looked at my colleagues and I said, where do you think those 5 ladies are going? He goes, I bet they're going to get some coffee, then they're going to go home, they're going to take a shower, and then they're going to go have lunch somewhere. Maybe at home, maybe out somewhere.
Right.
I said, how do we get them to come over here? Because we got this concept of this little cafe, but they're not going to come to a machine shop to have coffee. Well, then let's make it inspired, that the coffee shop is inspired for the women demographic. The colors, you've been in there, you see the color, you see the color palette, the furniture, the flow, the vibe. Man, that coffee shop was inspired and built specifically for women, not for us, not for guys, not for hunters and pistol shooters. It was designed specifically, and there's a woman that we use her as an example. Her name is Kendra, a business professional in the medical field, married to another business professional. They've got 3 kids, they've got 2 dogs, and she drives a white SUV.
Yeah.
Now, if you can market to that individual, her and all of her friends, they're in a demographic that will go out for coffee or in the morning or breakfast or lunch. They'll patronize this. And if you cater to them, that whole demographic, I don't have any problem getting her husband to come in and go to the range and shoot.
Not at all.
But she wouldn't come into the range to shoot unless her husband drug her. But if you can give her an excuse or a reason to go to C&H or Grounds and Rounds and have a cup of coffee while the husband does go over there, or vice versa, it works out good for the community.
And you never know, if she comes in and has coffee enough time, she may start looking at the guns and start easing her way that way.
At least they start asking the questions of, do you offer female classes? Do you have training?
Yep.
Do you offer some kids hunter safety classes, which we offer all of the above. We cater them all to the community. This is the destination. So then now we've got the manufacturer, now we got a cafe. I owned a gun store.
Right.
In fact, I still own it in name, but it's not open anymore. I said, well, then why don't we move the gun store over here? If we're going to move the gun store over here, having a gun store next to a cafe is great, but wouldn't it be awesome if people could go in there and shoot as well? They could buy a gun and shoot, or they could come here for training. So then I was like, well, I guess we'll carve off some of the manufacturing, we'll put in a gun range.
Yeah.
And several $1 million later, I have a gun range. So I'm not sure that it'll ever pay for itself.
Yeah.
But these are lessons as an entrepreneur that you have to be willing to pay for. If you're truly an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, you are going to have to fund some things that may or may not work out to get the reps in, to learn the lessons. This worked and this didn't. Or it's not working so far, I've got to pivot a little bit. And how do I pivot? And in what direction do I pivot to make this choice work? So it's challenging, but there are so many lessons to learn in all these different businesses that I learned that it makes you a better entrepreneur to go down the kitchen and do dishes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why? Because you hear conversations. You see how things work efficiently, and you see when things are broken. And if I can fix this little problem in the kitchen, the dishwasher, I was just there yesterday or the day before this weekend, and the rack where they stack the dirty dishes wasn't high enough, so it always collected water, and it was annoying, and people were annoyed, but they just wouldn't say anything. I go do dishes, and I get annoyed. Now I'm the owner, and I can fix it. And when I fixed it, then everybody was like, oh my gosh, we don't have this problem anymore. Somebody fixed it. And I said, that was me, because I was back here doing the dishes.
Right.
And I saw the problem, and then I didn't have to ask anybody to fix it. I just fixed it.
You had the power just to make it happen.
So you can pull out lessons.
Yeah.
Looking at everything gets back to what we talked about earlier. Looking at everything critically allows you to see problems. And then hopefully, if you're crafty and entrepreneurial enough, you'll see a problem, and then you'll also come up with a fix.
Right. Solution to it.
Yeah.
Man, well, I feel like we could talk another hour or so about entrepreneurship and lessons and stuff. But could you give me just one more piece of advice or lesson you've learned? Anything off the top of your head?
Well, I'll keep it short. my book is going to come out in September, October, and it's got a ton of these stories and life lessons. If I had to say, I'll give you one more.
Okay.
I'll give you one more. And this is a story that I use when I'm mentoring young college kids or middle school or high schoolers.
Okay.
And I'll use you an example. I got $250,000 cash in my pocket right now, and I'm gonna gift it to you.
I'll take it.
What would you? Now you have to use it as a business person, an entrepreneur.
Yep.
Or you have to invest it. So, what do you think the most common answer is when I tell people I've got $250K in my pocket? I'm going to give it to you. You got to go make a smart choice with this money. You can't go buy a car.
Yeah.
But you can do anything with it. What's the number one answer that most people tell me?
Stock market?
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
Right.
Because we have trained our youth to think that the stock market, that Wall Street is where money should go.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question. It's not going to be hard. How much money do you think I have wrapped up in the stock market, mutual funds, dividend, all this other jazz?
I have no clue, but I would think a significant amount based on what I know about your business and how you've grown and stuff. I would say a significant amount of money.
It's the number right below 1.
Yep. Okay.
0.
Yeah, yeah.
You know why?
You invest in yourself.
I do.
Yes.
I don't trust a stockbroker.
Yeah.
I don't trust an investment banker. I don't even really trust bankers, period.
Yeah.
Why? Because between me and you, there are fees. There are penalties. There are restrictions. People want to use your money to fund other people's aspirations to do other things with the money.
Right.
So the best example I can give you is if I took that $250,000 that I said I had in my pocket, which I don't have it in my pocket, but let's just say that I did.
Yes, sir.
I could give it to you, and you could go invest it in the stock market, and I know these numbers by heart. So if I gave you that money, and you got a typical rate of return, which we're just going to say is about 7 to 7.5%,
right?
And then you multiply in compounding interest, all that jazz. In 25 years, that $250,000 is going to be about $1.7 to $2 million. Yeah. Pretty good chunk of change when you start out with $250,000, right?
True.
Now, along the way, though, your broker, all these dudes are going to get paid their fees and their commissions, and your money's not really liquid. So if you come up with this bright idea, like I want to go buy a new car, or I want to go on a vacation, or I want to buy a business, it's not really accessible.
True.
Okay. Now that same $250,000, if I go buy 2 used, and when I'm saying used, like 10-year-old CNC machines.
Okay.
And let's just say, for just ease of instructional purposes, that each one of those machines makes $250 of profit per day.
Okay.
So you're going to go buy these 2 machines. You will be able to buy these 2 machines. You'll be able to ship them to yourself, and you'll be able to equip them with some tools. Now, it's up to you to find a part to make, but they're not that hard. Now, this could be a lawn care business. You could go out and buy a truck and a trailer and some lawnmowers and some weed whackers, and you could do the exact same thing.
Right.
But if you bought 2 CNC machines and you could make a part or some parts, or you could be a contract manufacturer, and you only have to make $250 a day profit from these 2 machines. So now both of them together is making $500 a day. In less than 11 years, you'll have more money than you would after 25 years of investing in the stock market. In less than 11 years.
That's wild. That's crazy.
Now, that's at a rate of making $250 profit. If you dump those machines off in my business, and those machines can make $500 to $1,000 a day in profit, we're talking about cutting that rate of return down to like 3 or 4 years.
That's right.
So why is that important? Well, I'm investing in myself. I'm taking a risk on myself. I've got to go market these things. I've got to sell them. I've got to QC them. There's a lot of things that couldn't go wrong.
That's right.
But would you rather roll the dice and make that same amount of money in less than 10 years? Or do you want to be super safe and have $2 million at the end in 25 years when you're going to retire?
I would rather take the risk and make it in less time. Personally, that sounds a lot better to me.
Yeah. So invest, trust yourself, invest in yourself. When you put yourself on the line and failure is not an option, I'll keep it clean, but burn the boats.
Yep.
When you have no plan B to go back to,
that's right.
You'll make it work.
That's right.
Now, with the stock market, you have a plan B. I can invest the money with you. You can invest it, and in 25 years, I'll have a good little nest egg, and I can always pull it back with paying some penalties. But I'd rather just burn the boats and start from scratch and
see what happens.
Make it my own way.
Make your own way. Invest in yourself. Pay attention to the details.
Be critical.
And be critical. That sound like some great advice. Something great advice.
Yeah.
Well, Buck, I appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you.
If you ever, I think we could probably talk a lot longer. You got a book coming out, you said, in next year?
This year. This fall. September, October.
Okay.
31 chapters of amazing goodness. There's some that are really short and really easy to get through, but every one of them, my goal for writing the book is singularly to pass on information to people like you and others and people in your audience.
Yes, sir.
I want to prevent them from making the same mistakes that I did that were so costly. They cost me in time. They cost me in money. They cost me in reputation. If I could save somebody time, energy, and money and reputation by them just reading a chapter out of my book, they don't even have to thank me. Nobody's ever going to thank me for it. But if I can influence them positively to prevent them from making some of the mistakes that I did, the world's a much better place.
Absolutely. That sounds like a great deal, and I hope I'll have to get that book and take a look at it when it comes out. I haven't read in a minute, but I need to start reading more. So,
okay. Well, there will be an audio version too. We're going to record that in the next couple of weeks.
That's more my speed. But
good.
Thank you so much for coming on, and we appreciate it. And thank you all so much, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely.